As the weather gets colder, let the podcast get warmer. Fall in with the Backbone Wrestling feed. Every Monday we have the cross up. Every Tuesday we have Ruthlessly Aggressive and New General Admission. Every other Thursday, linking up Lucha and Highway to the Impact Zone. Every other Friday, Russo Pod. We have Territorial that drops whenever. Hidden Gem that drops whenever. And we have 2 new podcasts. The Movie Education of Logan Crossland, which is a great one. He'll probably watch movies. And Hands of Z. And how could I forget the Shit Take?
So you gotta show a little backbone.
Vader, you wanted revenge tonight, but it didn't happen. What happened out there?
Man, a man usually don't have many excuses. I came in and I compete. I got my butt whipped. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I trained. Look at me, I'm so big. Maybe better time's over. I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. Big bastard. Well, oh.
He is the longest reigning world champion in AEW history. He is AEW's only Triple Crown winner. He is known as the best bout machine for a reason. Tonight, he heads to the ring in the same building that hosted the greatest of all time from North Carolina, weighing 224 pounds. He is Kenny approaching a ring from Essex, England, weighing 231 pounds, the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay! Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Forbidden Door main event, set for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. Approaching a ring from Aberdeen, Washington, weighing 197 pounds, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
It doesn't matter what you think.
Shit.
You didn't say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
There's nothing anyone can do, there's nothing anyone can say. There's little can be done right now to make this go away. Cliched simple platitudes do not to quell the dread, and the breadth and gravity just send me crawling back to bed. It's useless in this moment to say we'll get through this somehow. There's time enough for action, but that time isn't now. Soon we can start planning for what may come to be. But what I could really use right now is a bacon roll and a cup of tea. I don't need positive affirmations, I need to scream and bawl. The unrealistic expectations won't help with this at all. This is shit. Well, this is shit. I'm not expecting answers because they're out of your remit. I'm not looking for solutions, just for someone to admit that this is shit, this is shit, this is shit.
Backbone Wrestling Network, welcome to the latest episode of The Shit Take. I am one of your co-hosts, Shawn, and I am joined as always by Keithy Langston. Keith, how are you today?
You are Shawn Kid.
I am Shawn Kid. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fucking as wonderful as it can be. Living in the great city of Boston proper. I mean, it's amazing up here.
A marathon Sunday afternoon of pod recordings?
Sure.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like 5 today, I think? Something like that?
Oh, 500 maybe? I don't know. Yeah,
500? We do all these in bulk. I always enjoyed my Sunday afternoons with Keithy when we're doing
as do I.
So it's always fun. Once a month, get together and just have a big old party and shit
Big
all
old
over.
love fest. Mhm.
Shit on Steve Austin in WCW as I look at the TV title on my shelf that he made look like shit because he sucked in it. Oh, yeah, I had to get her eyes out of the gate right away.
Fucking hate you.
I know you do. That is a beautiful belt, though. I'm like staring at it right now on myself, and I'm like, man.
Mhm. Never looks better than around the waist of the stunning Steve Austin.
You know where it didn't look really good was around the waist of Dusty Rhodes because it barely fit. Anyway, we're not going to talk about the TV title. So 2 shit takes today. I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
So this one might not be a shit take. I think a lot of people might agree with me on mine. So my shit take is that the WWF dropped the ball big time on Big Van Vader. Now, I think so. For me, Vader, I love Big Van Vader. Like he was for me like the best heel WCW had in the modern, like in that whole 90s era was fantastic. I think they shit the bed on him a little bit when he lost. He didn't need to lose the belt to Ron Simmons in WCW. And then where they really shit the bed in WCW with him is when Hogan came in. Like he should have had a series with Hogan, the levels of like when Hogan, I mean, listen, Hogan's whole WWF thing was fight the monster of the whatever. You get a long feud, you get the big guy, you talk about Boss Man, you talk about Earthquake, you talk about Bundy, right? Runs the gamut. They should have done something really big with Vader in that. And by the way, Vader should have beat that motherfucker. Like he should not have treated Vader like he did those other big guys. Vader should have beat him. So long story short, Vader going to WWF, great move at the time. Shawn Michaels was the champion, right? I think at the time, right?
Yeah.
And him going to the WWF made sense. I'm like, Michaels versus Vader. This will give Michaels, like, for me, like a true test in his world title. Like I was so excited for that. Like, because he had Bret Hart, then he moved on to Diesel. And then I'm trying to, I can't remember the whole, like, who did he feud with outside of that? So it was Diesel, Hart.
Yeah, an awesome match with Mankind.
But that was so, but Mankind at the time wasn't really at the world title level.
No.
So for me, Vader coming in was like, fuck yeah, Vader.
Yeah.
And then the way they built Vader when he came in, I will say was good. Like, I will never, ever forget that Royal Rumble Vader was in and him and Monsoon going at it. Like, I mean, that was so good, right?
Yep.
Here's where they shit the bed on Vader.
Yeah.
Where do you think I'm going to say, like, for you, if you were to look at Vader's run, where would you think for me, I would say this is where the downfall started for him?
I mean, I would say the downfall was him not winning the title at SummerSlam.
That's where I'm going to start.
Yeah.
Came in, had all this heat, monster heel.
Yeah.
Did his thing with Gorilla Monsoon, basically put Gorilla Monsoon out, right?
Yeah.
The heel and like they even built him up to the point where Cornette couldn't even control the guy, right? And so it was really good. And then
hold on, and don't forget, everybody was kind of on board with Vader being like that much of a fucking badass too.
It was amazing. He was
like
great.
Vader was getting like positive heat from fans. Like people liked that he was the mastodon and everything like this.
Right. Yeah. And so then we get to SummerSlam. He should 100% beat Michaels at SummerSlam. And to me, he never recovered from there. Like he got a little bit in the 97. He was part of the big four between Taker, him, Austin, where they did that fatal 4-way thing, that pay-per-view. But as time went on, he just lost all his mojo, even to the point, and I played at the beginning of this pod, where I ain't nothing but a big piece of shit. You remember that promo? I'm a fat piece of shit.
I'm a fat piece of shit.
Right. And so he never, ever recovered. And I feel like they dropped the ball big time on him.
Absolutely.
He could have been world champion for years. Like he legit could have just carried that division, took out all the baby faces, and they just fucked it all up. And in the end, he went out with a whimper. And it was sad. Like he's one of the all-time great heels, all-time great. And WWF fucked him up as bad as WCW did at the end of their tenure with him. So that's my shit take. It might not be a shit take, but that's my take on why I think Vader, they dropped the ball. So what do you think?
First of all, it's not a shit take by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, if anything, it is an extremely valid point that you're making. First of all, I want to go back to what you had said originally. I don't mind that he lost to Ron Simmons. I think that was because the way they built it was good. Like he was feuding with Sting. Sting got hurt by Jake Roberts, and then they had the thing where they pulled out Ron Simmons' like name out of a hat.
But he only had the title for a month.
But that's fine. Again, it's okay because then he ends up beating Ron Simmons again and gets the belt back. And
that's only because Simmons wasn't drawing.
But that's fine. I mean, it's okay. He's also the kind of guy where I think at that point they were pushing Vader that he didn't need to be champion. You know what I mean? Because he was just, I mean, he wasn't cemented as a guy like Piper or Andre, where like they didn't need the title, it didn't matter. But I think that Vader was being booked and pushed to the kind of way where he didn't necessarily need to be the champion. It would have looked silly for him to not be the champion, you know? So having him lose to Ron Simmons, it didn't hurt him as much as when Hogan came in and all of a sudden he became fucking jobber of the week. And that's when I think it started. Like, I feel like Vince bought an already fucking lemon automobile from WCW when he left, because they did nothing but basically just fucking job him out to all of Hogan and his pals, like on the way out. It was fucking terrible. The way they did him dirty in 95 is just a fucking joke. It's a joke. It was
all Hogan.
Yeah.
All Hogan.
And listen to the No-So, where the 95 project I'm doing, where I'm going to rebook 95 because I put a little shine back on Vader. Let's just put it that way. So
good. I agree. You should.
And then he comes in the WWF. He and I want to say Logan, our buddy Logjam, is listening, and he did say that he did come in when Brett was still the champion. He comes in January 91. Yeah, he is, but he doesn't mix it up with Brett at all until after Shawn Michaels has the championship and everything like that. But regardless, it doesn't matter. While he was hot with that angle with Gorilla Monsoon, it kind of sucked because he doesn't get suspended from. Like, he's not.
And he transitioned to like a 6-man at Mania that year too, by the way.
Yeah, and it's you know, it just kind of weird. It almost would have been better if at Mania he has a match against like a guy Monsoon handpicks to be like his representative.
There you go, Keith rebooking.
Well, but you know, it would have been, and then it could have been Yokozuna, and then he could have just fought.
But that's who he was. That's who he was technically feuding with, I think, at the time, right?
And it would have been good.
Those two, boom, man. Go.
And it would, and it's funny because Gorilla's at Mania. No, he's not at Mania. That's the one he's not at. He's not at that one. Because he's hurt. But like, maybe if he wasn't hurt. Oh no, wait, he does come back, because isn't he one of the judges for the Brett match with Brett and Shawn?
I believe so. Again, I didn't do the.
I'd have to go back.
But, I have to go back and look.
But like, that would have been good because I think he already comes back. And I think what would have happened is if he had come in and like that match at Mania was like Gorilla accompanying Yokozuna and he's down there with like Cornette, like that would have been a good kind of match where he could have squashed Yokozuna and whatever, and that would have been fine. He should have beaten Shawn. He should have absolutely have been the champion without a shadow of a doubt. I think it's the stupidest thing in the world. That was Shawn pulling a fucking, you know, just business being, I'm the guy. Apparently Vader fought Warrior a lot across the house shows. Like, that fucking sucks. Anybody that's saddled with fucking Warriors, and that should have been him winning the title because of that.
I mean, hey, man, I know you a Vader versus Warrior match. I think I probably would have fucked with that.
Hey, I know, you know, Vader, I know you've been dealing with Warrior and Ahmed Johnson. I'm gonna let you win the title. You're gonna beat fucking you're gonna beat Shawn at SummerSlam. So yeah, we'll give you that.
Yeah. And the fact is, they had a schmoz finish to start, and they restarted that match, which pissed me off. Like,
yeah,
stupid.
It's dog shit. And then you're right. After that, he never really gets to the heights again until he's in that matchup at the whatever the script. It's funny. He actually feuds with Psycho Sid and Shawn like almost the entirety of like 96.
Yeah. There's no meat or substance to like almost his whole entire run until he's a big piece of shit.
And then he gets to that weird match, that fatal 4-way there or whatever, and it's just
that match is actually really good. I like that match.
Yeah,
quite a bit actually. Not many people talk
the
about
match
that.
He has with the Undertaker at Royal Rumble. I think is pretty good too.
I think it was. Yeah, I forget. Like, that whole time frame runs together for me in 97 sometimes because there's a lot happening. But so I feel like, I don't know. I almost feel like we could totally do a rebooking of Vader the whole entire run, but that's a whole separate conversation.
But I think what happened is, I think that he had several different factors kind of working against him. Number one,
Shawn Michaels.
Well, again, I go back to say number one, Hogan. I think Hogan left a stink on him that just wasn't going to come off.
Hey, Keith, let me ask you this. Is there any other wrestler that got the treatment that Vader got by two different freaking shitheads? Hogan and Michaels both. They fucked Vader over both. Think about that.
The closest you can come to is Brett.
Yeah, but besides Shawn Michaels, besides Shawn and that whole thing, who fucked Brett over? I'm saying he went one over, fucked. Because when he went to
Hogan
WCW,
both times. Hogan,
that's right.
Hold on.
So
Hogan screwed him over.
Hogan and Shawn Michaels are dicks.
Fucked over two of the
greatest of all time.
Two of the greats.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But the one big difference between Brett and Vader is that no one ever complained about working with Brett. Everyone complained about working with Vader because he was so stiff and he smelled. And I mean, and apparently, and I know, everybody says that he was like a sweetheart in the locker room and he was a wicked nice guy. And I think he was a real good family man and all this. And I think everybody liked dealing with him outside of the ring. But while people like dealing with Brett outside the ring, they also love dealing with Brett inside the ring because it was like wrestling Brett was like a night off. Vader was wicked stiff. He smelled like shit. He never cleaned himself properly. And I think that people just got sick of him. But again, there was no reason for Shawn to pull this bullshit. Maybe Bam Bam kind of got the fucking treatment too, because I'm sure Hogan had a problem with Bam Bam as well.
Well, Bam Bam got fucked by the Click, right? And then
and I think he got fucked in 88 by, he got kind of fucked in 88 by his attitude, but also I think it was Hogan. And because again, that's one of those weird things where it's you could look back and you could be like, dude, he's just trying to prove that he can run with the big boys, and yet they're all fucking mad at him, and so they give him a hard time and all this. So it could have been that as well. But I think that no, you have it. It sucks. It sucked for Vader, that poor guy. But I feel like coming in, he was kind of already a lemon, and there was no way you were going to read him. You know what would have helped him?
But they started him hot. That's what I'm saying.
No, but you know what would have really helped him, and it's the same thing that kind of sort of could have helped. It helped Mick Foley is going to ECW. And I think if he had
Vader would have ate that place for lunch. Man.
And I think if he had, because I would say Austin, but Austin really didn't have that big of a run in ECW. And then he really didn't do anything the first year that he was in WWF. From ECW. I mean, he didn't do anything. He really didn't do much until he won the King of the Ring. And that was
DiBiase. That's all he did.
Yeah. And that wasn't even supposed to be him.
Right.
He wasn't even supposed to win that. So it's you got to kind of have to realize that Austin made an awful lot out of something that was like a gift anyway. But Mankind is the best example of a guy who got treated like shit on the way out of WCW.
And then made something out of it.
He made something of himself in ECW. And then once he came into the WWF, he was running hot and ran hot pretty much the entirety of his run there. So I would say that had Vader left WCW, went to ECW and got that stink off of him for 6 months. And like you said, ate through that entire roster, won the ECW championship, fucking beat everybody up. And then eventually lost it in some kind of a fuck you schmozzy match to Sandman or something like that. Then you would have had Vader could have come in to the WWF hot as balls and he could have fucking destroyed everybody. And by that point, maybe Vince would have actually looked, because if Vince looked at him and said, because again, Shawn lost the fucking title to Sid. So it wasn't that Shawn wasn't willing to do business. He just wanted to do business on his terms.
Yeah.
And you could have easily had Vader win the title, even if it was for 2 or 3 months, and have him win it back at Survivor Series, or have him, dare I say, have him keep it all the way till Rumble, which was in San Antonio, maybe. But Shawn's also a completely different beast, and that whole 96 top of the card issue is so weird anyway that I don't even know what you could have done differently to book that to make it so that WrestleMania 13 is good with Shawn in the main event. I don't know. Maybe you have Vader beat him at SummerSlam and Shawn wins the Rumble again, and he wins and that would have been kind of cool because he would have gone back to back to back. And then at 90s, and then WrestleMania 13, the main event is Shawn versus Vader for the world title. You could still have Austin versus Brett. You could still fucking have Austin come out. You could still have Brett come out. And
Yeah,
bitch about the main event.
Taker versus Sid was meh, but
Shawn
versus Vader would have been good. That would have been good.
Vader versus
he still could have done Taker versus Sid, just not for the title.
And Vader versus Undertaker could have still been
So that would have been good. That would have been good.
Yeah. And I think, and then you could, like I said, you could still have the Brett thing where he comes out and bitches and you could have actually replaced Sid with Vader and have the exact same fucking thing happen, and it probably would have been a much better main event and a much better show.
Well, Michael's fucked everybody at WrestleMania 13.
Right, but you could that's what I'm saying is like you could still literally have the same exact thing happen and just have it not be Sid, have it be Vader. And you're showing respect to Vader. You're giving him the dues that he deserves because, like you said, he's probably one of the best big men in wrestling of all time.
I mean, the way he moves, everything, like just amazing. And he beats the fuck out of people. I love his forearms.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I just think that Vince was never going to look at him as the monster he should have, because I think that they just fucking destroyed him so much in WCW. And talk about a guy who probably had, I mean, you talk about Flair having fucking mental problems coming from like WCW. I bet you Vader had a ton of mental problems coming from WCW.
Well, and then Vince was getting the fellatio from Michaels, so Michaels was his guy. So.
And the whole I'm a fat, and you could tell by that fat piece of shit thing, like that was just Vince. That's like the whole fucking giving JR a colonoscopy on television. Like it's just Vince deciding to fucking pick on the one thing about the guy that he probably was self-conscious about.
1000%. So, and also, and I'll leave it on the WCW. I don't know if Vader would have gotten the title back initially from Ron Simmons, because Ron Simmons was supposed to lose to Rick Rude, and Rick Rude got hurt. Rick Rude was almost WCW World Champion. And that in itself would have been a disgusting piece of shit. So
you would have had what, like barely a month reign from one of the best monsters in the history of wrestling.
Right. So Ron Simmons won the title, and then going to Starrcade 92, Simmons was supposed to face Rude. Rude was supposed to win it at Starrcade.
Right. Well,
so Rude got hurt, and then the next, I think it was like a day or two later, that's when Simmons lost it to Vader. So they pinned
him. But that's what I'm saying. So like you would, and so Vader won it in what, July?
Yeah, and he lost it in August.
So barely a month
December.
Yeah, barely a month run. That's what you would have had, is like one of the best heels monsters in wrestling.
Yeah.
And at that point, you might as well just have fucking stayed in Japan, you know?
Right. And Vader's also one of the few people that actually make Sting have good matches too, by the way. I forgot I'd be remiss if I didn't say that about my man Vader. Vader had good matches. Probably my favorite Sting matches have been with Vader and Larry Zbyszko. Which is anyway. All right. So Keith, you and I agree on this one. All right. I love Keith rolling his face because we haven't recorded what we're going to record later today. I can't wait to hear about that one. Anyway, Keith, your shit take. What's your shit take? What do you got for this episode?
You know, it's funny. You had said something to me right before we recorded, and I rethought about my shit take. And you're right. There is one person I need to take off of the list, but I can replace him with somebody else on the list.
But you could go ahead and talk about why you put him there to begin with, and then why you changed your mind, because I've already put him into the opening. So
yeah, that's fine. Oh no, I would say it anyway. And my take is this: is that internet darlings, internet wrestling community darlings like Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Bryan Danielson are overrated spot monkeys. Now, I would take out Bryan Danielson as a spot monkey, because you're right, he's not a spot monkey. He's an actual legitimate badass professional wrestler. I would probably replace him with my God, Jon Moxley.
Oh, I mean, there's no comparison whatsoever. Jon Moxley's not even at the level of,
but Jon Moxley is an internet darling who's a spot monkey.
But
that's the thing. See,
your immediate shit take out of the gate is even comparing Moxley to the other two, by the way.
But see, this is where you're wrong. I'm not saying that their wrestling ability is so. It's because their internet look, first of all, okay, I look at, okay.
You really hate the internet.
Well, I do, because here's the thing, okay? Now granted, I don't watch AEW very often. I really don't.
How the fuck can you say that then?
Can you just let me finish, maybe?
No, I don't. Maybe I don't want to.
Yeah, maybe you don't. However, I do listen to the Cross Up every week. Thank you, Logan Crosland. Here on the North South Connection every Monday. Not North South Connection, Backbone Wrestling.
Oh,
excuse me.
Oh, that was a
well, let me. Will you edit this out or no?
No.
Okay, because I was
no editing out.
right. On the Backbone Wrestling Network every Monday morning. You can listen to the Cross Up with Logan Quasland. And then I usually do go back and Logan in the chat goes, "How dare you?" I know. I'm so sorry, Logan. I apologize, please. But I will say that I do listen. I do go back and read about them on my wrestling websites and everything like that. Like I go back and I read the results and I read all the, the matches and everything like that. And like whenever there's and then if there is something that like will come across either YouTube or will come across like TikTok or Instagram Reels or something, I will watch it. So, and I've been talking to Logan about getting into it because I'm in love with Timeless Toni Storm. So I want to start going in and watching it.
She is a gift.
But it's funny because most people will say that she's the best thing about AEW and there's not much else to watch. So, but
I don't agree.
But now here's the thing that I have. I've been following like Will Ospreay and like Kenny Omega for years. And I know like a lot of what they've done over in Japan. I know what they've done all over the place. And I will say that and I mean, you could put like Orange Cassidy on that list. It's the amount of fucking.
Well, Orange Cassidy, I'll agree with you. I can't.
But it's the amount of like, and again, this is where I kind of start sounding like Jim Cornette. I'm starting to sound way more like Jim Cornette at my old age than anybody else. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, you've already, and the last two pods we've done, you've blasted internet fans. You're like, internet.
but it's because I don't like it. I don't like spot fests. I don't like where it's just you, because you could see, and this was a thing like that happened in like TNA from time to time, where you would see like
the exhibition matches
happens, where you see guys like sitting on the top rope and they're looking and they're like looking and they're like looking at their watch and they're like looking at the referee and they're looking because they're waiting for the spot to come up. And I obviously come from the school of, I know there were guys like Savage, and I always talk about my favorite match of all time is that Mania 3 match, and it's like Savage planned that out to a T, and Ricky Steamboat bitched about the 14 pages of notes that he got and all this. But then you have Steamboat talking about how he would just go out there with Flair. They wouldn't even have anything down, and they would call the match entirely in the ring. One of the things I've grown to love about Bret Hart is how Bret would put together a match, and it would be spots, but it would be spots that were like organic and made sense and flowed very well. And it just wasn't these like, and I think that what happened is during the Attitude Era, you started getting into this crash TV where you had guys like the Hardy Boys and the guys like the Dudley Boys who were doing like basically nothing else until they got to that spot. And it was like, you start looking at it as like, okay, here's like the play that we're running, and we're going to run this play. And before that, we're just going to run straight up the middle. And then we're going to run this big play. And that's what we're going to do. And I don't like it. I think it's just, I think it's overrated. I think that I would much rather watch, and this is maybe where I should take Daniel Bryan out of it. And I think originally when I said that to you, it was because Daniel Bryan is an internet darling. Everybody loves him. But everybody loves him for years. He is. And that's the difference, is that he's a great mat wrestler. He could go in there and wrestle for, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and really not even perform anything wicked flashy and still get a match over. He knows how to tell a story in the ring. And those are the kind of guys that I love. I love guys that can tell a story in the ring. I always go back to Savage. I think Savage is the greatest of all time because Randy Savage could literally tell an entire story in there. I know you make that face, and I get a kick out of when you make that face, but Savage could tell an entire story from start to finish in 5.5 minutes.
Savage was a professional seller and got his ass handed to him most of the time he wrestled. That's all he did.
Okay,
got beat up a lot.
Let's just move on. All right, how about this? I'll give you something. This one you will not disagree with. Having gone through the Hands of Z podcast with you, I have watched an awful lot of Ronnie Garvin matches from his pre-WWF days.
Correct, right.
Ronnie Garvin, hell of an amazing professional wrestler. Could tell a fucking story from start to finish. Never did any fucking big spots. This is a guy who rarely did a big spot
because he was just a meat and potatoes.
But you know what? But he still got crowds over. He still had crowds eating out of palm of his hand. It's really funny because on the last episode of Hands of Z, you and I both watched different perfect Garvin matches. On the next
spoiler,
episode,
both of them are very good.
On the next episode of Hands of Z, that probably has already dropped since this came out.
Yeah.
We watched the other ones. We flip-flopped.
Right. Yeah.
Now you're talking about two guys, and Perfect was kind of like a high spot guy, like a high impact kind of
bumper.
You're talking
the
about
bumper.
those fucking two guys, two fantastic matches against each other.
Yeah.
And it's and those are two guys that are not sitting there counting the seconds, waiting for the friggin' spot where they're going to do a hurricanrana or a flippy floppy and what's the fucking Canadian Falcon arrow or whatever that fucking thing is. Where it's
so I assume you don't like Ricochet either, right? I would assume. Because I'm not going to disagree with you necessarily, but I'm also going to pivot on why I do watch AEW.
I think Ricochet has. I feel like Ricochet is a little bit more organic in some of his shit that he does,
and so he's better in AEW than he was in WWE. By the way,
yeah, but that's because they didn't want to push him in WWE because of whatever reasons. But yeah. But I think that I don't hate Ricochet. I think Ricochet's
the biggest spot monkey ever.
Yeah, but he's not as bad as like Orange Cassidy or fucking Kenny Omega and like.
All right. Here's where I'm gonna go. You ready?
Okay, go ahead.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
The reason I watch AEW for me is I watch if I'm gonna watch AEW. The problem with AEW is sometimes they don't have the storylines, they don't have but when it comes to pure match quality in some of the matches, like my favorite wrestler in AEW right now, and you could say whatever. I don't agree that Omega's a spot monkey. I don't. I think Omega is a niche person that people like. I think he puts on great wrestling matches. My favorite wrestler right now in AEW is Takeshita. I know it's not Takeshita, but that's what I call him because it's spelled Takeshita.
It is Takeshita.
I think he's amazing in the ring. I think he puts Okada to shame. I think Okada is very overrated. I like Omega's matches. I will tell you, I love Will Ospreay because Will Ospreay puts on a match. His feud with Kyle that he's in, or that cage match was awesome. Does he do spots? Yes, but in the end, he's a great wrestler. And he's got a banger of an entrance song.
The thing that kind of irks me about that is just number one, like I said, and this is where it comes back to I hate the internet. It's like Will Ospreay comes out, fucking puts a coil in the middle of the mat and farts on his opponent, and they give it 6.5 stars. It's like, okay, take it easy, everybody. He's not the second coming of Jesus Christ. It's just, and I feel like that's what they do, especially Will Ospreay. They fucking, it's like, all right. Do you remember? Did you ever watch you never really watch baseball on like ESPN and shit like that, right? Not really.
It's boring.
Okay.
No.
During the oh God, can I? Oh, you asked. I thought Logan was asking to Lubin.
No, I was asking Logan if he's in the chat. I just bring him in for his.
I just remember, like every time like the Yankees are on ESPN or on like Sunday Night Baseball or whatever like that, there had been a period of time where they literally were like Alex Rodriguez, like just blowing everybody on the Yankees of how wonderful the fucking New York Yankees were. And this is at a point where the New York Yankees, yes, they were a good team. They were a very competitive team, but they could lose, and they didn't fucking win the World Series every single year. This isn't even during their 90s run. This is like their late 2000s run. It's just, no. And that's the problem, is that whenever anybody becomes a darling, oh, let's just fucking blow this guy. It's like, not every movie that Will Ferrell does is fucking comedy gold. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, sometimes the things are just okay. And that's the problem I have, is that I don't like everybody kicking out of their matches out of their finishers 1,000 times. I don't like the Canadian drivers and everybody doing there's that one fucking match. Is it Ospreay and Orange Cassidy where they literally do like a flippy, and then they finally hit like a fucking Canadian driver? It's like, come on,
but you're talking situational versus the universal. Will Ospreay overall is a great wrestler. He is. Orange Cassidy, I agree. I am like the least biggest Orange Cassidy fan, but everybody loves the guy. I can't stand him.
All right.
Daniel Bryan, Kenny Omega. And I don't even love Kenny Omega. I just like his matches. I don't even
I said, I had to take out Daniel Bryan and the only reason I put him in originally is because.
And I still have a hard time saying Bryan Danielson, by the way. I keep saying Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, no, I can't. Look, I'm a WWE guy. It's been beaten in my head that his name is Daniel Bryan.
But I do agree with you on Moxley. Mm-hmm. I think
that guy
Moxley right now.
Moxley is such a fucking garbage
so
wrestler.
Bad. It's the worst thing to watch on that show.
He's so bad. Like I saw the thing, and it's so funny. Like I think I was talking to Logan. Like I saw the fucking the bat
Yeah.
with the board with the nails stunt on like TikTok, and I was like, dude, who the fuck wants to even watch that? Like, it's just fucking stupid. Like, and I know, and this is coming from a guy who loves Mick Foley like to no end, and even going back and watching like the death matches in Japan, the King of the Death matches, I'm like, you know what, Mick, you didn't need to go that far. Like, it's just, there's a big difference between the Jerry Lawler Terry Funk where he gets the fucking spike in his eye versus Terry Funk getting body slammed on C4. Like, come on, fucking C4, please.
Well, it's Logan. By the way, Logan agrees with me in the group chat.
Of course he does. Logan agrees with you. He has to, because he has to stay in the will.
No, he doesn't. No, he's not even in the will.
But Logan's one retort for me is, you don't watch AEW every week. And that's his one retort. So
well, that was a very good Logan, but he's right. The matches, AEW just like their pay-per-views, the match quality on some of their pay-per-views is incredible.
Seriously, it's like you look at the 4.5 stars, 6.5 stars,
but
4.5 stars,
Keith,
4.5 stars.
The majority of the time, those matches are really good. I know I said that on purpose to get a rise out of you, Logan. Sorry. So Keith, all I'm going to say is, except for Orange Cassidy and except for John Moxley,
all right, whatever.
This is a big shit take.
All right, it's a shit take. I mean, if we went back and looked at all the shit takes, I think I've had maybe 2 really good shit takes, really shit takes, and you've had 1,000 really shit takes. So
not really,
no.
Not
really.
I mean, listen, go back and watch your 1994 $1 million corporation King Kong Bundy. That's more of what you like. That's what I'm hearing. So.
You know my feelings on Ted DiBiase.
Oh, I know.
Both as a wrestler and a manager. So take it easy, okay?
Go watch the Mid-South DiBiase. You'll feel better.
Well, that's what we need to do next. That's the new project.
I've been trying to get man. It's so hard to watch Mid-South just because of the book. It's like Crockett Wrestling. Like, it's like 50 different feuds going on at once and trying to keep track of it's hard. Very hard. We should watch a
Boogie Woogie Man DiBiase pod.
I would rather jump off a bridge and watch anything with Jimmy Valiant at this point.
I want like 85, 84.
Like it's so funny because and we'll end after this. Chad Campbell, who likes NWA, likes Crockett like I do.
Sure.
He thinks Jimmy Valiant's great. And great might be long, but he can watch him and he's a fan of his. And I just don't get it. Every time he's on my screen, I just want to go like this. And it's
fucking Boogie Woogie, man.
Oh my God, so stupid. And then Big Mama with her giant hooters. And
I fucking love Jimmy Valiant's the best.
Oh, so bad. So bad.
We should watch Can we watch a podcast with nothing but Jimmy Valiant versus Paul Jones's Army?
I want you to reach out to Matt Souza and ask him what he thinks of Jimmy Valiant.
Why does he hate him too?
Huh? Everybody has a price for the Boogie Woogie pod.
Everybody has a price for the Boogie Woogie pod. That's a great name.
My God. I don't know. Is that as good as the one I wanted to do in the Nick of Hard Times? That one was good too. That was a good title one too. But anyway.
In the Nick of Hard Times.
In the Nick of Hard Times, which we never did, or because there's just too much going on. But Keith, anything you want to put before you get out of here?
Yeah, please listen to the movie Education. Actually, you know what? Listen to everything that's on the Backbone Network, especially the Cross Up that's on Monday mornings.
Cross Up's a good Monday morning show. It's a good kind of like catch me up.
It is. And you know what I love about it too is that we get the dulcet tones of Logan Crosland like early Monday morning, where you can tell that like he's either recording it very early Monday morning or very late Sunday night. So he sounds like he's just real. He's real calm. He's real.
I think he typically records them on Sundays.
Yeah.
So.
And he goes, and he's got to be quiet because he's talking about his family's in the house. And it's almost like listening to Matthew McConaughey. I love it. It's like almost like it's wrestling ASMR for anybody that wants to go out there. Listen to Logan Crosland on the Cross Up on the Backbone Wrestling Network every Monday morning.
All right.
And yeah, that's about it. I'll plug that. That's it.
All right. Listen to everything on the Backbone. I'm going to let Shift Plugs take it from here. But yeah, great content, very diverse content, right? I don't think there's so much diversity on this fucking network. It's not even funny. The majority of it's from Logan. So
there's more diversity on this podcast network than there is in the U.S. government right now.
There is. And it's all hosted by Logan Crosland for the most part. So
that's right.
That's how diverse we are. But anyway, all right, Keith. Well, always a pleasure. I love doing this show with you, and we will see everybody on the next episode of the Shit Take. Keith, this is a very big Shit Take. Hey, Keith, before we go, do you want me to bring over my TV title and just brag about how great Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson was, and how shitty Steve Austin was?
If you bring that title with you to Mania, I'm going to hit you with a chair and steal it and take it home.
I am going to put that belt in my bag, and it is coming with me to WrestleMania. And you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to clock you upside the head with it and make you bleed, like Dusty did when Tully used to attack him with it.
And then I'll get a spike, and I'll go, oh my God, and then I'll get fired from TBS.
That's fantastic. All right, see you, everybody.
I'm right and you're wrong, that's the name of this here song. This discussion's gone on way too long. I'm right and you're wrong. They say there's two sides to every scrum. My side's right and your side's dumb. That's the general rule of thumb. I'm right and you're wrong. If I'm right and you're wrong, I guess this can't be a sing-along, 'cause you'd sing I'm right and that'd be wrong, 'cause I'm right and you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong, that's the name of this here song. Dang, you sure are headstrong. I'm right and you're wrong. We can agree to disagree on things you're just too blind to see. Else you just agree with me, 'cause I'm right and you're wrong. Please don't cloud the issue with facts. Let's just stick to personal attacks till there ain't no turning back. 'Cause I'm right and you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong, that's the name of this here song. Civil discourse just don't belong. I'm right and you're wrong. What's that you say? Maybe we should listen. Maybe there's things we've both been missing. Heck, we could wind up hugging and kissing if no one's right or wrong. All this talking's gone on way too long. There ain't gonna be no brand new dawn, 'cause you're an idiot and I'm King Kong. I'm right and you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong, that's the name of this here song. It turns out all along I was right and you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong, that's the name of this here song. This whole thing's gone on way too long. I'm right and you're wrong. Yeah, the world ain't flat, it's just oblong. I'm right and you're wrong. And you're ugly too.